If your reality feels slow, it might be because your identity is updating. Not because you are lazy, not because you missed your chance, not because the world is punishing you. Slow does not automatically mean wrong. Slow often means something inside you is changing faster than the outside can rearrange. Most people misunderstand slow. They treat it like a verdict. They read the delay as rejection. They assume nothing is happening. Then they panic. They force. They chase. They tighten their grip. And that pressure makes everything feel even slower. Here is the cleaner explanation. Your outer life moves at the speed your inner identity can hold. When identity shifts, reality hesitates. Not to tease you, to synchronize. Identity is not your personality. Identity is your internal definition of what is normal for you. It is what you expect. It is what you tolerate. It is what you believe you are allowed to have. It is also what you believe you must do to deserve it. Identity is the invisible operating system behind every choice you make. When that operating system updates, the commands you used to run stop working. The old buttons do not produce the old results. The patterns that once moved things forward start to stall. That is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are no longer meant to build your life with the same tools. A real identity update usually begins with discomfort. You might feel restless around people you used to fit with. You might lose interest in goals that used to excite you. You might feel an odd grief for a version of you that you cannot return to. You might still be capable, still talented, still disciplined, but you cannot fake alignment anymore. You cannot push from the same place. This is the quiet truth. When your identity changes, your standards change, your boundaries change, your sense of what is acceptable changes, your definition of success changes, your nervous system changes too. And because your nervous system is the bridge between intention and action, everything else has to recalibrate. That recalibration can look like a slowdown. You apply for something and hear nothing. You show up and the room feels colder. You create and the response is muted. You plan and the timing keeps slipping. The projects that used to move on momentum now require patience. It can feel personal. It is not personal. It is structural. Old identity creates old motion. New identity creates new motion. In the middle, there is often a gap. That gap is the update. It is the buffer. It is the space where your life stops rewarding the version of you that no longer matches who you are becoming. This is also why forcing does not work during this season. Forcing is an old strategy. It is often powered by fear. Fear of falling behind. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of losing control. Fear says speed up. Identity update says stabilize. If you try to speed up with the same emotional fuel, you feel resistance. The more you push, the more exhausted you get. The more you chase, the more empty the result feels. That is because the real work is not out there. The real work is you becoming coherent. Coherence is a simple word with a serious meaning. It means your values match your actions. Your boundaries match your words. Your choices match your truth. When you are coherent, you stop leaking energy through contradiction. And when energy stops leaking, reality can move again. Many people think they are waiting on the universe. They are actually waiting on themselves. They are waiting on the moment they finally stop negotiating with what they already know, waiting on the moment they stop performing a role that kept them safe, waiting on the moment they stop shrinking to maintain access to people, jobs, and situations that no longer fit. That decision is an identity decision. It does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it is one quiet no, one honest conversation, one boundary that you keep. One day you choose rest without guilt. One day you choose quality over approval. One day you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Then things begin to move. Not instantly, but cleanly. Because once identity is stable, reality has something clear to organize around. Let us make it practical. If your reality feels slow, ask a better question than why is nothing working. Ask what version of me is ending. Ask what version of me is trying to be born. Ask what I am no longer willing to do. Ask what I am no longer willing to tolerate. Ask what I secretly know but have not committed to yet. you will notice that most slow seasons revolve around commitment, not commitment to a goal, commitment to a self. A new self has different rules. The old self might have survived by pleasing. The new self survives by choosing. The old self might have survived by overworking. The new self survives by regulating. The old self might have survived by proving. The new self survives by trusting. The old self might have survived by staying busy. The new self survives by being present. Reality slows when you are between those rules. And this is why the slowdown can be sacred. It protects you from building the new chapter on an old foundation. It blocks you from getting everything you wanted for the wrong reasons. It buys you time to upgrade your capacity so you do not collapse under the weight of the next level. Most people want the next level without the next identity. That never lasts. You can get a relationship, a title, a platform, money, attention. If identity does not match, you sabotage it, you leak it, or you suffer inside it. So if it is slow, do not insult the season by calling it nothing. It is doing something very specific. It is separating who you were from who you are becoming. There are a few signs you can trust. This is an update and not avoidance. You still care, but you cannot force. You still have ambition, but it feels quieter. You still want results, but you are less willing to abandon yourself to get them. You notice that what used to excite you now feels like noise. You notice that peace is starting to matter more than praise. Those are not symptoms of giving up. Those are symptoms of refinement. Refinement does not always feel good. It feels empty before it feels clear. It feels slow before it feels steady, but it is real. If you treat the slowdown like a problem, you will attack it. If you treat it like a signal, you will listen to it. Listening is the move. Listen to what drains you now. Listen to what your body refuses to do. Listen to the thought patterns that spike your anxiety. Listen to the people who only like you when you are small. Listen to the goals that require you to betray your values. Listen to the pace that makes you feel disconnected from yourself. Then make one identity level decision. One decision that matches the person you are becoming. Not the person you were trained to be. Not the person you needed to be to survive. The person you are now. When you make that decision, do not rush to see proof. Your reality might still be slow for a moment. That is normal. The system is catching up. The field is rearranging. Your life is removing what cannot follow you. Hold steady. Slow is not the end. Slow is the transition point where the old story stops working and the new story starts to load. Stay with the update. Your future needs you stable, not frantic. This is for the one who keeps trying, but nothing moves. You are not careless. You are not passive. You are not waiting for permission. You show up, you do the work, you adjust, you learn, you try again, and still, the results feel delayed. The response feels quiet. The door feels heavy. That specific kind of silence can mess with your mind because you can accept failure with a clear reason. You can accept a no. You can accept a closed door. But a long pause with no explanation makes you question everything. It makes you look at your effort and wonder if it even counts. You keep trying because that is who you have been. You believe in responsibility. You believe in improvement. You believe that action creates progress. That belief has carried you far. It has earned you respect. It has built your skills. It has kept you alive in seasons where nothing came easy. So when effort stops producing movement, it feels unnatural. It feels like the rules changed without warning. This is not about motivation. This is not about discipline. This is not about you being weak. This is about a deeper friction, the friction between who you are becoming and what you are still trying to force. Many people do not notice this friction. They numb it with noise. They distract. They blame. They quit. You do not do that. You keep trying. That is admirable. But there is a point where trying becomes a trap. Not because effort is wrong, but because the direction is outdated. Some seasons do not respond to more force. They respond to more precision. Precision means you stop throwing energy at every option. You stop proving. You stop begging reality to confirm your worth. You start making cleaner choices. You start moving from a calmer center. If you keep trying but nothing moves, you are likely doing one of two things. You are either trying to create a new life with an old identity, or you are trying to keep your old life while your identity is already changing. Both create the same symptom, effort without traction. This is why you feel tired in a way rest does not fix, because your body is not only working, your body is carrying inner conflict. Inner conflict burns fuel without producing progress. You can be productive and still feel stuck. You can be busy and still feel behind. You can be capable and still feel invisible. If you are here, you know the feeling. You clean up your habits. You refine your plan. You do what people recommend. You stay consistent. You stay polite. You stay available. You stay reasonable. You tell yourself to be patient. Then you watch someone else get the outcome with half the effort. And that comparison starts a quiet war inside you. You do not want to envy them. You do not want to become bitter. You just want to understand what you are missing. What you are missing is not information. It is not another strategy. It is not another push. What you are missing is alignment between your identity and your actions. When identity is misaligned, you try hard in ways that look correct but feel wrong. You keep saying yes when your body is saying no. You keep chasing approval when your spirit is asking for freedom. You keep applying pressure when your nervous system needs stability. Nothing moves because you are trying to move from a place that is no longer true. This is the part that people avoid because it requires honesty. Honesty looks like admitting that you have outgrown a role. Honest means you do not want to be the reliable one who carries everyone. Honest means you do not want to be the one who always understands. Honest means you do not want to be the one who works twice as hard just to be considered equal. Honest means you are done with smallness, even if smallness used to keep you safe. That honesty is the beginning of movement. But there is a stage before movement returns. The stage where everything seems to pause. That stage is where you are, and it can feel like nothing. But it is not nothing. It is a sorting. Life sorts when you shift. It sorts friendships that were built on your old tolerance. It sorts work that was built on your old urgency. It sorts relationships that were built on you being easy to access. It sorts goals that were built on proving, not on purpose. Sorting takes time. It looks like delay. It looks like uncertainty. It looks like the wrong people fading. It looks like the right opportunities not arriving yet. That is why you feel suspended. If you keep trying in the exact same way, you extend the suspension because you keep feeding the system the same signal. This is where your power comes back. Not by quitting, not by collapsing, by updating the signal. The signal is what you are willing to accept. The signal is what you are willing to repeat. The signal is what you tolerate without speaking. The signal is what you chase when you feel insecure. Reality responds to that signal more than it responds to your words. You can say you want peace. If you keep choosing chaos because it feels familiar, the signal is chaos. You can say you want love. If you keep rewarding distance because you are afraid to ask for more, the signal is distance. You can say you want wealth. If you keep underpricing yourself to avoid judgment, the signal is scarcity. You keep trying but nothing moves because you keep transmitting a signal that no longer matches what you say you want. This is not a moral judgment. It is a mechanical truth. Your life is a feedback system. It reinforces what you practice, not what you wish. So let this be a direct call out. If you are the one who keeps trying but nothing moves, it is time to stop measuring your worth by speed. It is time to stop using effort as proof that you deserve results. It is time to stop believing that exhaustion is a badge of seriousness. Effort matters, but effort is not the only lever. Identity is the lever. Identity is the decision you make about who you are before the outcome arrives. Identity is the standard you keep when nobody claps. Identity is the boundary you enforce when you could get more by betraying yourself. This is why the slow season feels so intense. It asks you to hold your new identity without evidence. That is hard for achievers. That is hard for people who learn to survive by producing. That is hard for people who learned love through performance. That is hard for people who learned safety through control. If you keep trying and nothing moves, you might be facing the moment where control stops working. Control is not always bad. It builds structure. It creates consistency. It helps you keep promises. But control becomes a cage when you use it to avoid uncertainty. And uncertainty is the price of every upgrade. Upgrades require space. Space looks like fewer commitments. Space looks like saying no without a long explanation. Space looks like letting someone be disappointed. Space looks like allowing silence to exist without filling it with effort. This is the part where you might feel guilty. Because the old you believed you had to earn rest. The old you believed you had to prove you are worthy of ease. The old you believed that if you slow down, you will lose everything. The new you is learning a different rule. If you keep trying from fear, you lose yourself. If you slow down from clarity, you gain your life. The reason nothing moves is often because the next move cannot be made from panic. The next move requires a calmer identity. A calmer identity does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop trembling while you care. It means you stop negotiating with the bare minimum. It means you stop calling anxiety intuition. It means you stop confusing urgency with destiny. So take this message exactly as it is. If you keep trying and nothing moves, do not add more effort yet. Remove what contaminates the effort. Remove the need to be chosen by people who do not see you. Remove the habit of chasing proof. Remove the reflex to explain yourself into acceptance. Remove the pattern of saying yes when you mean no. Remove the belief that you must suffer to be legitimate. Then your trying becomes clean. Clean effort is powerful. Clean effort has weight. Clean effort creates traction. In this season, you do not need more intensity. You need more integrity. Integrity is the alignment between what you say you want and what you are willing to embody. Once you embody it, reality begins to move again. Not because you fought harder, because you finally matched the timeline you were asking for. And if you are still in the pause, hold your ground. You are not failing. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are in the exact moment where your life stops responding to the old version of you. That is progress. You wake up with a weight in your chest. Not panic, not laziness, just heaviness. It sits there before your thoughts fully form, before you check your phone, before you remember your plans. Your body registers something first. Not danger, not drama, just pressure. This feeling is easy to misread. You might label it as stress. You might call it burnout. You might assume you need more discipline. But heaviness is often not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that something inside you is carrying more truth than you have admitted out loud. Heaviness is what happens when you are awake enough to sense misalignment, but not yet fully ready to release what created it. Your mind wants a simple story. It wants a clean reason. It wants a single problem to solve. Your body does not work like that. Your body holds complexity. It holds the cost of the roles you play. It holds the weight of what you keep tolerating. It holds the pressure of what you keep postponing. This is why the heaviness can feel confusing. You are not in crisis. You are not falling apart. You are not incapable. You are simply carrying a life that no longer fits the person you are becoming. That is the punchline. The weight is not proof that you cannot handle life. The weight is proof that you are ready to stop carrying what is not yours. There is a specific kind of heaviness that shows up when identity is updating. It is quiet. It is persistent. It does not explode. It does not scream. It just stays. You can still function. You can still show up. You can still smile. But the inside feels slower, denser, like you are moving through water. This heaviness often comes with small signals. You feel less interested in noise. You feel less impressed by urgency. You feel less willing to pretend. You feel less able to force excitement. You can still do what needs to be done, but you cannot lie to yourself while doing it. That shift is not weakness. It is refinement. Refinement is uncomfortable because it removes your old emotional shortcuts. The old version of you could override discomfort by pushing harder. The old version of you could silence doubts by staying busy. The old version of you could manage pain by keeping everything under control. The new version of you is not interested in that trade. So your body applies a brake. It creates a heaviness that makes speed feel expensive. It makes rushing feel wrong. It makes your usual coping methods stop working. Not to punish you, to protect you from repeating a pattern you have outgrown. If you want to understand this season, stop asking why you feel heavy. Ask what you are still carrying. You might be carrying a standard that was never yours, a timeline that someone else set, a definition of success that does not match your values. You might be carrying a relationship pattern that requires you to be smaller, less honest, less direct, less demanding of respect. You might be carrying a job identity that only rewards you when you are exhausted, where you feel safe only when you are needed. You might be carrying an inner promise you made a long time ago. A promise like, I will never disappoint anyone. A promise like, I will always be the strong one. A promise like, I will earn love through performance. Those promises create heaviness because they create pressure. They force you to live in a way that ignores your present self. Your body does not enjoy self-betrayal, even when it looks successful on the outside, even when it brings approval, even when it makes sense on paper. So the heaviness arrives like a message, not dramatic, not poetic, just real. Something needs to change. Most people respond to this feeling by trying to fix it quickly. They add a new routine. They add more productivity. They add more stimulation. They add more advice. They search for an external lever. But the heaviness is not asking for more. It is asking for less. Less forcing, less proving, less explaining, less self-abandonment. The heaviness is asking for coherence. Coherence is when your life stops sending mixed signals, when your values match your calendar, when your boundaries match your words, when your goals match your nervous system capacity, when your relationships match your self-respect. Incoherence feels like heaviness because it requires constant internal labor. You spend energy managing what you feel, managing what you say, managing what you fear, managing what you do not want to admit. That management is exhausting. So hear this clearly. If you wake up heavy, it does not mean you need to push harder. It might mean you need to stop pushing in the wrong direction. Heaviness can also be grief. Not grief for a person necessarily, grief for a version of you that worked, a version of you that was rewarded, a version of you that knew the rules. When identity updates, the rules change. You no longer get the same satisfaction from old wins. You no longer feel safe inside old habits. You no longer want to pay the same price for the same outcomes. That is a loss, even when it is a good loss. And grief has weight. You can feel that weight without being depressed. You can feel that weight without being broken. You can feel that weight simply because you are letting something end. This is why the heaviness often sits in the chest. The chest is where we hold what we do not say. The chest is where we hold restraint. The chest is where we hold longing. The chest is where we hold the urge to be true and the fear of what truth might cost. If you are in this season, treat the heaviness with respect. Do not dramatize it. Do not deny it. Name it. Heaviness means I am carrying something that does not belong in my next chapter. Then get specific. Ask what you are doing that costs you peace. Ask what you keep agreeing to that you resent. Ask what you keep avoiding that you know you must face. Ask who you become when you are trying to be accepted. The answers will not always feel comfortable, but they will feel clean. And clean truth is lighter than dirty comfort. There is a practical way to work with this feeling. First, reduce the demand you place on your mornings. Do not start the day by proving. Start the day by stabilizing. Sit up, breathe slowly, let your chest soften. Do not negotiate with the feeling. Just let it exist for a moment without turning it into a problem. Second, make one identity-aligned decision early. Something small, something real. It could be saying no to one extra commitment. It could be delaying a conversation you usually force. It could be doing one task with full focus instead of 10 tasks with anxiety. It could be drinking water and eating well before you chase performance. It could be sending one honest message instead of a polite one. That is how you teach your nervous system that the new identity is safe. Third, stop demanding that the heaviness disappear before you move. Sometimes it leaves after you move, not after you think, not after you plan, after you choose. Heaviness often lifts when you stop living in two directions. One direction is your old identity, the one that tries harder, explains more, gives more, tolerates more, stays agreeable, stays useful, stays busy. The other direction is your new identity, the one that chooses clarity, chooses standards, chooses peace, chooses respect, chooses patience, chooses the long game. When you keep switching between them, you feel heavy. When you commit to one, you feel lighter. This is the hidden gift of waking up heavy. It forces a decision, not a dramatic decision, a private one. Will you keep carrying what you have outgrown, or will you let the update complete? If you are hearing this and you recognize yourself, trust the signal. That heaviness is not telling you to quit life. It is telling you to quit the version of life that requires you to abandon yourself. Stay calm, stay honest, make the next clean choice. The weight is not your enemy. The weight is your compass. Messages go unanswered. Plans keep rescheduling. Money delays. Opportunities feel muted. That pattern is not random. It is a specific kind of friction, not a full stop, not a collapse, a drag, a slowdown that makes you question your sense of timing and your sense of value. You send the message that normally gets a reply. You keep it clear. You keep it polite. You do not overthink. Then nothing. Hours pass. A day passes. Sometimes more. You check again, not because you are desperate, but because the silence feels out of character for the world, You set a plan. You coordinate. You prepare. You clear your schedule. Then it shifts. Not cancelled with clarity, just moved. Then moved again. It starts to feel like the calendar itself cannot lock in. You look at money and it feels delayed in a way you cannot control. Invoices take longer, clients pause, sales soften, expenses arrive right on time, but income arrives like it needs permission. You do the same work, sometimes better work, and the timing feels off. Then opportunities, this is the strangest one. Because you can sense them, you can see the outline, you can feel there is something available, but it is muted, like the volume is turned down, like the door is there, but the handle is not in your hand yet. This is what people mean when they say nothing moves. It is not that nothing exists, it is that nothing clicks. And when multiple areas show the same symptom, the mind will try to find a single external cause. Maybe the algorithm changed, maybe the economy shifted, maybe people are unreliable, maybe you need a new strategy. Maybe you are not working hard enough. Maybe you should start over. Some of those may be partially true, but they do not explain the deeper pattern. Because this kind of slowdown has a signature, it tends to show up when your external life is still running on an old agreement, while your internal identity is withdrawing consent. An agreement can be invisible. It is the deal you made with life, often without realizing it. I will be easy, so people will stay. I will be available, so I do not get replaced. I will keep pushing, so I do not fall behind. I will accept delay, so I do not look demanding. I will accept crumbs, so I do not lose the table. When that agreement starts to break, your reality often responds with quiet, not as a punishment, as feedback. Messages go unanswered because the old dynamic is losing power. The old dynamic might be you reaching out first, you smoothing the tension, you carrying the emotional labor, you being the reliable one. When your identity begins to update, you subconsciously stop broadcasting the same energy. You might still send the message, but you do not send the same signal. The signal is not need, it is not chasing, it is not managing their comfort. It is a cleaner presence, and many people only respond quickly to the old signal. They respond to the version of you they could predict. So the silence reveals something important. It reveals where connection was built on your effort, not on mutuality. Plans keep rescheduling for a similar reason. Your time used to be flexible because you believed you had to accommodate. You adjusted quickly because you did not want to be inconvenient. You took pride in being easy to work with, easy to be around, easy to count on. Then one day, you start valuing yourself differently. You start valuing your energy. You start valuing your peace. You start valuing your actual life. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. When you stop treating your time like it is disposable, the world tests you. Not in a dramatic way, in a scheduling way. People will move you around. Situations will try to keep you on standby. Life will present small moments where you either reinforce the new identity or you return to the old one. Rescheduling becomes a mirror. It shows whether you still tolerate being treated as an option. Money delays can be the hardest because money feels like evidence. When it moves slower, you think your value is dropping, but value is not the same as timing. Timing often reflects structure. If your income was built on the old identity, the identity that over-delivered, undercharged, stayed quiet, said yes, stayed reachable, then money delays may be the early sign that this structure is expiring. When you update identity, you stop feeding the old structure. You stop doing extra for free. You stop rescuing. You stop negotiating against yourself. You stop working from fear. That is healthy, but it can create a temporary gap because the new structure is not fully installed yet. This is the part where people panic and revert. They discount themselves. They take on work that drains them. They say yes to anything that pays, even if it costs them self-respect. That brings money faster, but it also brings the old identity back. So money delays are not always a sign you are failing. They can be a sign you are refusing to earn in the old way. Opportunities feeling muted is the final piece. It is the feeling of being close, but not connected. Muted opportunities often mean you are in a transition state. You are not fully aligned with the old rooms, but you are not yet visible in the new rooms. You are between circles, between markets, between identities, between social patterns. This in-between state can feel like invisibility. It can feel like your work has no echo. It can feel like you are speaking into a quiet space. But muted does not mean absent. Muted means the channel is changing. In these seasons, people often mistake quiet for rejection, but quiet can be selection. Life is removing noise so you can hear what actually fits. Here is the key point. When multiple systems feel muted at once, communication, scheduling, money, opportunity, it is rarely solved by pushing harder in the same way. It is solved by changing what you are willing to tolerate and changing what you are willing to repeat. Because reality responds to repetition. If you repeat chasing, you get more chasing. If you repeat over-explaining, you attract situations that require you to justify yourself. If you repeat urgency, you attract chaos. If you repeat over-giving, you attract takers. So when messages go unanswered, do not rush to double text out of anxiety. Pause. Ask if your identity still needs that response to feel secure. When plans keep rescheduling, do not keep accommodating by default. Choose one clear boundary. Choose one simple standard. Not aggressive, not emotional, just firm. When money delays, do not interpret it as a verdict on your worth. Interpret it as a signal to build a cleaner system. Cleaner pricing, cleaner terms, cleaner energy, cleaner work. When opportunities feel muted, do not assume you are invisible. Assume you are repositioning. Focus on being undeniable in the room you are in now. Focus on depth, not reach. Depth has a way of calling the right doors to you. This is how you reclaim power in a slow season. You stop treating the delay as personal. You treat it as information. Information about where you still compromise. Information about where you still chase. Information about where you still accept half effort from others. Information about what is ending. Because these mirrors are not trying to discourage you. They are trying to show you the truth with minimal drama. And the truth is often this: your life is no longer responding to who you used to be. It is waiting for you to fully become who you are now. Once you respond differently to the mirrors, reality responds differently to you. Not instantly, not magically, but predictably. Messages become fewer, but more real. Plans become less flexible, but more respectful. Money becomes slower at first, then cleaner. Opportunities become quieter, then sharper. Muted is not the end. Muted is the moment before the signal stabilizes. Here is what is happening. Your old identity is no longer compatible with the timeline you are entering. So the field slows the outer world while it rewires the inner one. Compatibility is the word that matters. Not talent, not effort, not desire. Compatibility. Because your life does not move forward only because you want it to. It moves forward when who you are matches what you are trying to live. Identity is not a slogan. It is the set of rules you run without thinking. It is what you expect to happen after you speak. It is what you assume you must tolerate. It is what you believe you can ask for. It is what you believe you must do to be safe. Most people call this personality, but it is deeper than personality. It is the internal contract that shapes your choices. Timeline is simply the direction your life is organizing toward. It is the next chapter you are stepping into. Not fantasy, not a dream board, a real shift in what you can hold and what you can sustain. A timeline is not only a destination, it is a pattern of living. It comes with new standards, new responsibilities, new consequences, new kinds of relationships, new kinds of pressure, new kinds of freedom. The field is the environment that responds to your signal. People, platforms, money channels, opportunity networks, the rhythm of events, the way doors open or stay quiet. The field is not mystical when you look closely. It is feedback. It is the sum of what you practice and what you permit. It reflects the identity you repeat. When your old identity is compatible, things feel like they click. The same effort produces predictable results. Your timing feels clean. Your decisions feel rewarded. Even obstacles make sense. You can push, and the system responds. When your old identity becomes incompatible, the same moves lose power. What used to work becomes heavy. What used to be easy becomes slow. Not because you got worse, because the system is asking for a different version of you. This is why the outer world slows down first. The outer world is where the mismatch becomes obvious. Messages go unanswered. Plans slip. Money delays. Opportunities feel muted. All of that is friction. Friction is information. It is telling you that the old way of operating is no longer the correct interface. If you ignore that information, you try harder in the old way. You push more, you explain more, you chase more, you overextend. That makes the mismatch louder. Then you call it bad luck. But it is not luck. It is a transition. The transition is the rewiring of the inner one. Inner rewiring is not a cute phrase. It is a real change in what your nervous system treats as normal. It is a change in what your mind believes it can hold without collapsing. It is a change in the emotional fuel you use to move. Old identity often runs on fear. Fear of falling behind, fear of being judged, fear of losing love, fear of being replaced. Fear can create impressive results, but it creates a fragile life because it needs constant urgency to survive. A new timeline usually requires a calmer fuel, not because you stop being ambitious, because the next level cannot be built on panic. It cannot be built on self-betrayal. It cannot be built on proving. The next level asks for a steadier center. So the field slows the outer world to reduce noise. It lowers the speed so you can feel what you have been overriding. It creates delays so you cannot keep sprinting past the truth. It interrupts momentum so you can stop confusing motion with progress. This is the part people resist. They want a fast fix. They want the old results with the new feelings. They want to become someone new without losing the old comforts. But the update has a rule. You cannot keep the benefits of the old identity and also enter a new timeline that requires integrity. Something has to change. You can usually spot the exact point of incompatibility by noticing what triggers you right now. If unanswered messages shake your self-worth, you are still attached to being validated. If rescheduled plans make you feel invisible, you are still attached to being chosen. If money delays make you panic, you are still attached to scarcity stories. If muted opportunities make you overwork, you are still attached to proving. That is not shame, that is data. The rewiring is the process of changing those attachments. It teaches you to stay stable when the old proof disappears. It teaches you to hold standards without needing immediate applause. It teaches you to choose clarity over approval. It teaches you to regulate your body so your choices are not made from threat. And this is why the slowdown can feel uncomfortable but clean, because it exposes where you are still negotiating with your own value. Incompatibility also shows up as a loss of taste. You lose taste for drama. You lose taste for noise. You lose taste for chasing. You lose taste for people who only like you when you are easy to access. You lose taste for goals that require you to abandon yourself. This can feel like sadness, but it is actually refinement. Refinement is a sign that your identity is updating at the root level. The part that decides what feels normal, the part that decides what feels safe, the part that decides what feels possible. So what do you do with this reveal? You do not beg the field to speed up. You become compatible. Compatibility is built through small decisions that match the person you are entering. You stop sending the second message out of anxiety. You send one clear message, then you let the silence reveal who is real. You stop keeping your calendar flexible for people who do not respect it. You set one standard and you keep it without anger. You stop accepting delayed payments as normal. You tighten terms. You communicate cleanly. You protect your value. You stop chasing opportunities that feel muted. You improve your craft. You deepen your signal. You let the right doors find you through consistency, not through panic. Every one of those actions is an identity action. It is not about controlling the world. It is about controlling what you repeat. Because the field responds to repetition. When you repeat self-respect, the field reorganizes around self-respect. When you repeat clarity, the field reorganizes around clarity. When you repeat patience, the field reorganizes around patience. When you repeat desperation, the field reorganizes around desperation. This is the real reveal. The slowdown is not random. It is a checkpoint. It is the moment where the old identity can no longer carry you forward and the new identity has to become stable enough to lead. So do not use this season to panic. Use it to install the new standard, install the new boundary, install the new rhythm, install the new self-talk, install the new definition of what you will no longer tolerate. Then the outer world starts moving again. Not because you begged it, because you matched it. When the inner one is rewired, the field does not need to slow you down anymore. The lesson is complete. The signal is clear. The timeline can accept you. That is why this reveal matters. It turns delay into direction. It turns silence into information. It turns the slow season into proof that you are being upgraded, not rejected. And the more you try to stay the same, the more your reality resists you. Because your old strategies cannot open doors meant for your new frequency. This resistance is not imaginary. It is not bad luck. It is not the universe testing your patience for no reason. It is a mechanical response to mismatch. When you try to stay the same, you repeat the same reflexes. You repeat the same tone. You repeat the same standards. You repeat the same emotional posture. You repeat the same way of asking, the same way of working, the same way of relating. You call it consistency. But sometimes it is not consistency. Sometimes it is refusal to update. Reality resists refusal. Not with violence, with friction. Friction shows up as delays, confusion, mixed signals, half answers, opportunities that almost happen, people who almost commit, money that almost arrives. It feels like you are close but not connected. You are doing enough but not landing. You are pushing but not moving. That is tension. And tension is useful if you read it correctly. The tension is telling you one thing. The old version of you is trying to keep control in a world that no longer rewards that version. Most old strategies are built for survival. They were smart. They worked. They got you through. That is why you trust them. You learn that if you try harder, you will be safe. If you stay agreeable, you will be accepted. If you carry the weight, you will be needed. If you keep producing, you will not be abandoned. Those strategies can create results. They can build a life, but they also build a cage with soft walls, because it is familiar. When your identity starts updating, your nervous system begins to reject the cage. You can still perform, but it costs you more. You can still deliver, but it drains you. You can still chase, but it feels hollow. You can still pretend, but your body will not cooperate the way it used to. So the system pushes back, not to stop you, but to stop the old pattern. This is where people misunderstand the moment. They think, if I push harder, I will break through. They double down, they work longer hours, they send the follow-up, they offer a discount, they explain more, they volunteer more, they stay available, they tighten control. Then the resistance increases. That is the point. The more you try to stay the same, the more reality resists you. Because reality is not only responding to effort, it is responding to identity. Effort is what you do. Identity is who you are being while you do it. And the world can tell, people feel it in your energy, in your boundaries, in your willingness to be moved around, in your need to be chosen, in your habit of overgiving, in your fear of silence. The old strategies often communicate one message, even when you do not intend it. Please approve of me. Please choose me. Please confirm I am safe. Please confirm I am enough. That message can attract attention, but it rarely attracts respect. It can attract quick outcomes, but it rarely attracts stable outcomes. And it definitely cannot open doors meant for your new frequency. New frequency is not a magical concept. It is the practical result of upgraded standards and regulated energy. It is what happens when you stop chasing and start choosing, when you stop negotiating and start deciding, when you stop performing and start living, when you stop moving from fear and start moving from clarity. A new door requires a new key. Old strategies are old keys. They fit old locks. If you keep using old keys on new doors, you do not open them. You damage the key. You damage your confidence. You start believing the door is not for you. But the door is not rejecting you. The door is rejecting the old key. That is tension. Now we make it specific. Here are common old strategies that create resistance during an update. 1. Urgency. You learn to move fast to feel safe. You learn to rush so you do not get left behind. You learn to answer immediately. You learn to fix immediately. You learn to decide immediately. In a new season, urgency often creates noise. It makes your choices sloppy. It makes you attach to outcomes too quickly. It makes you trade standards for speed. Reality resists urgency by slowing timing. 2. Over-explaining. You learn to talk your way into acceptance. You learn to soften your needs so people do not feel pressured. You learn to give long reasons so you do not look difficult. In a new season, over-explaining signals insecurity. It tells the world you do not trust your own boundary. Reality resists by giving you people who do not listen until you learn to speak clean. 3. Overgiving. You learn that love and safety come from being useful. You learn to anticipate needs. You learn to rescue. You learn to carry the emotional labor. In a new season, overgiving attracts takers and drains your power. Reality resists by reducing the return on your effort until you learn to give with standards. 4. Perfection. You learn to avoid criticism by being flawless. You learn to delay visibility until everything is perfect. In a new season, perfection becomes avoidance. Reality resists by forcing you into situations where you must act before you feel ready, so you can build a stronger identity than the one that depends on control. 5. Settling. You learn to accept less because asking for more felt risky. You learn to tolerate delay, disrespect, and inconsistency because you feared losing the connection. In a new season, settling creates internal conflict. Reality resists by making the old arrangement uncomfortable, so you stop calling discomfort normal. Each old strategy has the same result. It keeps you in the old identity. And the update cannot complete if you keep feeding the old identity. This is why the tension is necessary. It forces you to choose, not once, repeatedly. It forces you to ask, what am I doing right now that belongs to the old version of me? And then it forces you to do something different. That different choice does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be consistent. You can choose calm over urgency. You can choose one clear message over 3 anxious follow-ups. You can choose to let silence exist. You can choose to protect your time. You can choose to ask for what you want without apology. You can choose to walk away from half effort without a fight. These are identity moves. They feel small in the moment, but they change your signal. And when your signal changes, reality changes what it offers you. This is the punchline you need to hold in your chest. Resistance is not always a block. Sometimes it is an invitation to evolve. If you keep trying to stay the same, reality will resist until you stop. It will not reward the old pattern forever, because the old pattern cannot carry you into what you say you want next. The goal is not to fight the resistance. The goal is to read it. Ask, what is this friction asking me to become? If messages go cold, maybe you are being asked to stop chasing connection that does not match your standards. If plans keep shifting, maybe you are being asked to treat your time like it matters. If money delays, maybe you are being asked to stop earning through self-abandonment and build a cleaner structure. If opportunities feel muted, maybe you are being asked to deepen your craft and stabilize your identity before visibility returns. That is how tension becomes guidance. You do not need more force. You need a new key. And you get a new key by becoming the person who does not abandon themselves for an outcome. That person is calm, clear, decisive, patient, self-respecting. That person does not need the door to open to stay stable. That is the frequency the new doors respond to. So if your reality resists you, do not take it as rejection. Take it as evidence that you are no longer meant to live with old strategies. Let the resistance do its job. Let it burn off what no longer fits. Then move forward with a new identity and watch how the doors begin to recognize you. You think you are stuck. You are not. You are buffering. You are not breaking. You are breaking free. Stuck feels like a verdict. Buffering is a process. That one switch changes everything. Stuck says nothing is happening. Buffering says something is loading. Stuck says you are behind. Buffering says you are between. Stuck says you are failing. Buffering says your system is updating in real time. When you call it stuck, you attack yourself. You shame yourself. You rush. You panic. You start making decisions just to feel movement. Any movement, even if it is the wrong movement. You take the first door that opens, even if it leads back to the old life. You accept the first offer, even if it costs you your standards. You reconnect with the wrong people, just to feel chosen. That is what stuck thinking produces. It produces motion without direction. Buffering does the opposite. Buffering slows you down so you do not make a permanent decision from a temporary feeling. Buffering creates space so the new identity can stabilize. Buffering protects you from building the next chapter with old fear. If you are in a buffering season, you may feel unfamiliar with yourself. You may not recognize your own reactions. Things that used to excite you do not hit the same. Things that used to scare you feel less powerful. You might be less interested in impressing people. You might be more protective of your time. You might crave silence instead of stimulation. Those changes can feel like loss, but they are often a return. The old identity is loud. It survives by noise. It survives by constant proof. It survives by quick wins and quick fixes. It survives by trying to control how other people see you. The new identity is quieter. It survives by truth. It survives by internal standards. It survives by choosing what is clean over what is fast. It survives by letting people misunderstand you and still staying steady. That steadiness takes time to install. That is why buffering feels slow. Not because you are stuck, because your inner system is renegotiating what feels normal. The nervous system is part of this. If your nervous system has been trained on urgency, calm will feel wrong at first. If your nervous system has been trained on performance, rest will feel unsafe at first. If your nervous system has been trained on survival, stability will feel boring at first. So when life slows, your first impulse may be to create urgency, to manufacture problems, to pick fights, to overwork, to numb, to scroll, to chase anything that gives you a spike of feeling alive. That is not a character flaw. That is withdrawal from an old identity. The breakthrough is realizing that discomfort is not proof you are off track. It may be proof you are detoxing from the version of you that needed chaos to feel real. That is breaking free. Breaking free does not look like a dramatic ending every time. It often looks like small refusals. Refusing to answer right away when you feel triggered. Refusing to explain yourself into approval. Refusing to shrink to keep access. Refusing to take the shortcut that costs your integrity. Refusing to say yes when your body says no. Each refusal is a release. Each release is a form of freedom. You are not breaking. You are breaking free from the old conditions that trained you to abandon yourself. And this is why the buffering season can feel lonely. Because you are not fully in the old world anymore, and you are not fully in the new world yet. The old friends do not fully recognize you. The old goals do not fully motivate you. The old strategies do not fully work. But the new relationships have not arrived. The new rhythm is not stable yet. The new opportunities are still quiet. So you are in the middle. The middle is not failure. The middle is the hallway. Most people cannot tolerate the hallway. They turn around. They go back to the familiar room. They convince themselves they were being unrealistic. They accept less than they want because it is easier than holding uncertainty. But if you can tolerate the hallway, something powerful happens. You stop negotiating with the old self. You stop begging the past to approve your future. You stop proving you are worthy of what you already know is meant for you. You start living from a different center. And once you live from a different center, reality starts responding differently, not as a reward, as a match. Here is how you know you are buffering and not stuck. If you still care, but you cannot force. If you still have vision, but you are not willing to chase it in the old way. If you still want more, but you cannot tolerate the same compromises. If you feel pulled toward honesty, even when it costs you comfort. That is buffering. That is the update loading. The breakthrough is to stop treating the pause like a problem. Instead, treat it like a signal that you are in a transition between identities. Then do the one thing that completes the transition. Stop demanding immediate proof. Old identity depends on proof. It needs someone to text back. It needs the plan to lock in. It needs the money to arrive. It needs the opportunity to confirm your value. Without proof, it panics. New identity does not panic in silence. New identity uses silence as a mirror. It reads the silence. It chooses from clarity. It holds standards even when no one is watching. So when nothing is moving, do not scramble. Stabilize. Stabilize your breath. Stabilize your schedule. Stabilize your boundaries. Stabilize your self-talk. Because the fastest way out of buffering is not speed, it is coherence. Coherence is when your behavior matches your values. When your choices match the person you claim to be. When you stop saying you want peace while choosing chaos. When you stop saying you want respect while tolerating disrespect. When you stop saying you want abundance while making decisions from fear. When coherence is present, the buffer completes. And then movement returns. Not the old movement that drains you, new movement that fits you. This is the moment you need to remember. You are not stuck. You are buffering. You are not breaking. You are breaking free. Hold the line. Let the update finish. The shift always begins in silence. Not the silence of giving up. The silence of stopping the leak. The silence of returning to center before you choose your next move. Most people try to force the timeline with noise. More messages, more planning, more updates, more checking, more pushing. They think motion will create certainty, but motion without stability creates more distortion. It creates more chasing. It creates more need for proof. It creates more dependence on external responses. Silence is where the signal becomes clean. A real shift does not start when the outer world finally cooperates. It starts when you stop asking the outer world to decide who you are. It starts when you stop using speed as a measurement of value. It starts when you stop treating delay as danger. Silence is not empty. Silence is the place where you can hear what you have been overriding. You have been overriding your body. You have been overriding your instincts. You have been overriding the quiet truth that something is no longer aligned. That is why the system had to slow down. It was the only way to get your attention without breaking you. Now you do the opposite of forcing. You practice holding. Holding is an identity skill. It is the ability to stay steady when the outcome is not visible yet. It is the ability to keep your standard without becoming harsh. It is the ability to keep your direction without needing constant reassurance. This is what stabilizes frequency. Frequency is not a mystical word here. It is your baseline state. It is what people feel when you enter a room. It is what your choices reveal. It is how you respond to delay. It is how you respond to silence. It is how you treat yourself when nothing is moving yet. When your baseline state is anxious, your actions become negotiations. You send the second text to calm yourself. You accept the reschedule to avoid discomfort. You lower the price to avoid rejection. You rush the decision to avoid uncertainty. Then you call it strategy. But it is not strategy. It is fear managing itself. When your baseline state is stable, your actions become decisions. You communicate once, clearly. You allow silence to reveal reality. You protect your time without apology. You hold your pricing with calm. You move with patience. Then your life begins to match you. The micro practice is not a ritual for comfort. It is training for coherence. 10 seconds, no performance, no drama. Just a clean reset that tells your nervous system, I am safe enough to choose from clarity. Put your hand on your chest. That single contact does something important. It brings you out of your head and into your body. It reminds you that you are not a problem to solve. You are a system to stabilize. Now breathe in for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now breathe out for 6 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do that again. In for 4 counts. Out for 6 counts. The longer exhale matters. It signals safety. It lowers internal urgency. It reduces the impulse to chase. It returns control to the part of you that can think clearly. Then say, quietly, with a steady tone, I do not chase motion. I stabilize frequency. Say it like a decision, not like a wish, not like a hope, like a standard. This line is not about pretending. It is about instruction. You are instructing your system to stop confusing movement with progress. You are instructing your identity to stop reaching for proof. You are instructing your body to stop treating silence like threat. And here is the punchline you must keep. Do not force the timeline. Hold the signal. Forcing the timeline means trying to make the next chapter happen with the same emotional posture that created the old one. It means pushing from scarcity. It means negotiating from fear. It means trying to control outcomes to avoid feeling uncertainty. Holding the signal means staying consistent in who you are becoming, even when the environment is still catching up. It means behaving like the person who is ready, not the person who is begging. It means keeping your standards when the old rewards disappear. If you want reality to move, you stop pleading with reality. You stop reacting to every delay as if it is a warning sign. You stop making identity decisions based on short-term discomfort. This is where silence becomes power. Silence gives you a gap between stimulus and response. And in that gap, you regain the only thing that matters. Choice. You choose not to send the extra message. You choose not to chase the person who is inconsistent. You choose not to accept the reschedule without a clear boundary. You choose not to overwork to silence your anxiety. You choose not to discount your value to avoid a no. You choose not to explain yourself into acceptance. Those choices are the signal, and the field organizes around the signal you repeat. You do not need to repeat this practice for an hour. You need to repeat it at the moment you would normally abandon yourself. That is the real training. The moment you feel the urge to check again, stop. Hand on chest. In for 4, out for 6. Say the line, then act from stability. The moment you feel rejected by silence, stop. Hand on chest. In for 4, out for 6. Say the line, then choose your standard. The moment you feel pressure to prove, stop. Hand on chest. In for 4, out for 6. Say the line, then do the next clean action, one action, not 10 frantic ones. This is how identity updates without chaos. You are not trying to become numb. You are becoming precise. Precision is calm power. It is the ability to move without leaking energy. It is the ability to hold your lane without swerving every time the world gets quiet. Silence builds that precision, because silence removes the audience. It removes the distraction. It removes the impulse to perform. It leaves you with one question: who am I when nobody is confirming me? That is the root of the update. When you answer that question with behavior, not just words, the outer world begins to move again. Not because you forced it, because you became compatible. This is why the practice works. It is not a trick. It is coherence in motion. 10 seconds that interrupt an old pattern, 10 seconds that create a new baseline, 10 seconds that choose the future version of you before the future arrives. So keep it simple, hand on chest. In for 4, out for 6. I do not chase motion. I stabilize frequency. Then hold the signal. Do not force the timeline. Hold the signal. If it feels slow, good. That is the update installing. If you feel this message, stay. Your next version is closer than you think. Slow is not a warning sign in every season. Sometimes slow is the clearest evidence that your life is being reorganized around a stronger identity. Sometimes the delay is the protection. Sometimes the silence is the filter. Sometimes the missing pieces are missing because they cannot follow you into what is next. The mistake is to treat slow like an emergency, to treat quiet like rejection, to treat uncertainty like failure. Those reactions belong to the old identity, the one that needed constant confirmation to feel safe, the one that measured worth by speed, the one that assumed if it is not moving, it is not working. That is not the identity you are installing now. The new identity does not panic when timing stretches. It does not abandon itself when results take longer. It does not rush into the wrong room just to avoid being alone in the hallway. It does not lower its standards to buy quick relief. It stays. Staying does not mean you do nothing. Staying means you stop running from the lesson. You keep your signal steady while life rearranges around it. You keep your standards while the old dynamics fall apart. You keep your integrity while the old rewards disappear. If it feels slow, good. That means the old shortcuts are being removed. That means the old coping strategies are losing power. That means you are being asked to build a life that does not require you to betray yourself. This is where most people leave too early. They leave the update at 90%. They return to familiar patterns because they want relief. They accept the old situation because at least it is predictable. They chase the old attention because at least it responds fast. They go back to the old version of earning, loving, and living because it gives them a quick sense of movement. Then they wonder why the same cycles repeat. Cycles repeat when identity does not complete its update. An update completes when you become consistent. Not perfect, consistent. Consistent in the way you treat your time, consistent in the way you speak for yourself, consistent in the way you price your value, consistent in the way you choose people, consistent in the way you respond to silence. Consistency is what locks the timeline. A new timeline is not convinced by one brave moment. It is confirmed by repeated alignment. It is confirmed when you keep choosing the same standard, even when there is no immediate reward. It is confirmed when you hold the signal long enough for reality to reorganize around it. That is why slow is not bad. Slow is the space where consistency becomes possible. You are not being delayed because you are not ready in a skill sense. You may be delayed because you are being prepared in a stability sense. Skill can be built in public. Stability is built in private. Stability is built in the moments when nobody sees you choose self-respect, when nobody sees you not send the second message, when nobody sees you walk away from the half offer, when nobody sees you keep your boundary without anger, when nobody sees you do the work without needing applause. Those are identity moments. Those are timeline moments. So if you feel this message, stay. Stay does not mean hold on to everything. Stay means hold on to yourself. Hold on to the part of you that is finally honest. Hold on to the part of you that is finally quiet. Hold on to the part of you that no longer wants to perform for acceptance. Hold on to the part of you that wants peace more than praise. Hold on to the part of you that is tired of repeating cycles. Stay with that. Because what is happening right now is not only about results, it is about readiness. Readiness is not a feeling. Readiness is a posture. Readiness is calm. Readiness is clear. Readiness is patient. Readiness is decisive. Readiness does not need to rush to be real. Readiness does not need to panic to be powerful. If your reality is slow, you are being given a rare chance to install that posture without distraction. A slow season exposes what you still depend on. If you depend on instant replies, slow exposes it. If you depend on constant validation, slow exposes it. If you depend on urgency to feel important, slow exposes it. If you depend on chaos to feel alive, slow exposes it. Exposure is not punishment. Exposure is clarity. And clarity is what makes the next version of you possible. Your next version is closer than you think because the distance is not measured in miles. It is measured in decisions. One decision to stop chasing. One decision to stop settling. One decision to stop performing. One decision to stop negotiating your worth. One decision to stop making fear-based choices. Those decisions do not look dramatic. They look boring to other people. But they are seismic to your life. And they compound. The outer world may still be quiet while this is happening. That is normal. The system catches up after the signal stabilizes. Reality often moves after identity commits. So do not confuse silence with absence. Do not confuse delay with denial. If it feels slow, good. That is the update installing. Stay, not in anxiety, in standards, not in fear, in coherence, not in waiting, in becoming. Your next version is closer than you think because you are already acting like them in small ways. Keep going, hold the signal, let the timeline meet you,